Hi guys, it's Ian here again, calling in from the beautiful Queenstown, New Zealand. Today I want to talk about my long run on the weekend. On the weekend I did a 16.6 kilometre run in the lead up to doing the half marathon, which is just under 3 weeks away now. Good news was it went really well. The interesting thing about the run though was I found it to be a fantastic metaphor for my business, for my goals, and I think it's got a lot of really good points in it into how things happen when you go about setting a goal and going towards it. So I just want to share a little bit of a story with you about the run that I did on the weekend. So on the weekend it was a beautiful day on Saturday. Sun was shining, the air was still, and went out to Lake Hayes to do a run around there. It's an 8.3 kilometre track. I was going to do 2 laps, and it's my big run in the lead up to doing the half marathon in a couple of weeks' time. Now, did a little bit of warm up at the start. That went well, and then started my run. It starts off with a bit of an uphill, so we were, pushing uphill, and that was fine, and let's bring this into going for your goal. Now, when you first start out for your goal, there's usually maybe a bit of a learning curve, or there's a bit of an uphill at the start. You've got to get over that and then get into a bit of a rhythm. And my run started off with a bit of a hill, then it evened out at a nice long flat stretch. Then a couple of Ks into it, just before I started running, actually, there's a couple of people who went past who were doing a run as well. And as I came to the end of the flat bit, we're about to go down, there's a bit of a swampy area down the bottom. The 2 people who had gone past before I started running actually came back running the other way, and as they ran past me, they both told me that the track was flooded down the bottom of the hill. And I was just like, okay, fair enough. So I went down the bottom of the hill to have a look for myself, and yeah, it was flooded for a little bit. But I decided, look, I can turn back. This is the first sort of obstacle that we've got. This is not what I was expecting. I'm expecting a nice, easy, at least a dry run around the lake, and this is definitely not what I was expecting. But I also decided that what I decided today was going to be was the day that I did my 16k run, no matter what. And I needed to prove to myself that I was able to do that and able to run for that period of time. So, yeah, the track was wet. I went running through it. Well, it turns out it was wet for quite a long way. About the next kilometre on and off, the track was under nearly up to 10 centimetres of water, so I did get rather wet feet at that point. But just pushed through it. In fact, ran a little bit faster to try and get through the water quickly. And again, this can be taken back to your goals. Quite often, you have that first climb, then it plateaus for a little bit, and then you hit some meaty bad bits. Something that's really unexpected, not what you wanted to happen. But you could turn back if you wanted to. If you give up, if your goal wasn't that strong, you could just turn back, or you can just plow on through it, which is what I chose to do that day. So when we plowed through that water for about a kilometre, kept on running around, things went pretty much as expected after that. There was, another little hill I had to go up, completed the first lap, and then into the second lap. So we had another hill, flat bit down, back into the water again, another hard bit to push my way through. This time I did know it was there, and I just as I said, just plowed on through it and just ran through the ankle-deep water, and eventually got to the other side again with wet shoes. But it was a nice sunny day, so it wasn't too bad. They did kind of dry out eventually. And then, sort of rounded the bottom end of the lake and had a stretch. The last 20 minutes or so was coming back up the side of the lake, and that was, of course, when the wind decided to blow. So for my final stretch, final 20 minutes, I was actually running into a pretty solid headwind the whole way, and there's a little hill right at the end of it as well. So I thought this was just a fantastic metaphor for going for your goals sometimes. You start off, there's a bit of a hill, then you hit unexpected problems, and you've got to plow your way through. Then you keep going, and maybe there's some expected problems. You know they're coming up, and you've got to get through those as well. And then just before you reach your goal, something kicks up, and you've got to plow through it again. You've got to just keep on going, keep on pushing, and eventually you do make it to the end. And that was the same with my run. I just put my head down basically and just ran into this wind, up the final hill, staggered down the end and into the finish line. And I completed the 16.6 Ks in an hour and 53 minutes, which was pretty much my goal. Anything under 2 hours I was going to be pretty happy with, and so it worked out perfectly, even though for that last 10 minutes, last 20 minutes running up the side of the lake there into the headwind, I felt like I wasn't moving. You know, my legs were sore. I was running into a headwind. I had a hill towards the end. You know, everything just felt compounding. I felt like I was miles behind the time that I wanted to get, and yet came down that little hill at the end, up to the car, and lo and behold, I'd actually reached my goal in the time that I'd set for it, and everything was great. You know, I sat under a tree, drank some water, and was just over the moon about the end result. And as I say, I want to tie all this into metaphors about going for your goals. There are going to be uphills. There are going to be wet patches you have to run through. There are going to be headwinds right at that end bit. You've got to keep pushing through because the universe is going to test you. Make sure that you really, really want it. But if you just keep going, you keep focusing on putting one foot in front of the other, then eventually you're going to get your goal and everything's going to work out beautifully. So that's my little story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. See me back here again tomorrow, and we're going to get back into thoughts becoming things. I know we got a little bit sidetracked last week, so we're going to get back into that this week. As always, guys, comments and questions, leave them below, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.